Welcome back, my friends. Currently, we're on day 160 of Russia's disastrous invasion of Ukraine, and the top story today is that the first vessel carrying Ukrainian food exports has successfully left the port city of Odessa, and this is the first ship to successfully get out in the almost 6 months since Russia invaded the country. And the ship actually left yesterday and it hasn't been attacked yet. So potentially, Russia will stick to their agreement that they made with the UN, and these are the terms of the deal. A coalition of Turkish, Ukrainian, and UN staff will monitor the loading of the ships to ensure that no weapons are being smuggled. Ukrainian vessels will then guide the commercial ships safely through mined waters in order to get them out of the Black Sea. And really, I think these ships just need to get to NATO-controlled water in Romania and Bulgaria. So potentially, the most dangerous portion of this trip will be while they're still in Ukrainian waters, because Russia is very unpredictable. Next piece of good news is that 4 additional HIMARS launchers have been delivered to Ukraine. This brings their active total to 16. But in addition to HIMARS, Ukraine is also using M270, and they also now have their German cousin. This is the Mars 2, delivered from Germany. So thank you very much, Germany. All of these launchers fire the same type of GMLRS rockets. And just yesterday, the United States announced their next aid package worth $550 million. And these aid packages from the United States are going to keep being announced and delivered every 2 or 3 weeks. And it's interesting what is in this aid package. Here's the press release on the Department of Defense website, and the only 2 things that it lists is 75,000 rounds of 155 millimeter artillery ammunition, and then additional ammunition for the high mobility artillery rocket systems. So that's only 2 things, and that's $550 million. Obviously, the Department of Defense doesn't disclose everything they're giving to the Ukrainians, and they're specifically not stating how many missiles are being sent. But if we just want to guesstimate, because this is really interesting, let's assume that half of this $550 million is just made up of additional ammunition, rockets or missiles for the HIMARS system. How much does each missile cost? And according to an estimate given in a Warzone article, each missile is worth about $168,000. So if we just do the math, we can guesstimate how many more of these missiles are being delivered to Ukraine just this month. 275 million, roughly half of the aid package, divided by 168,000, gives you 1,636 additional GMLRS rockets for the Mars 2, the M270, and the HIMARS launchers to fire against the Russians. In a previous video, I estimated, once again from this Warzone article, that potentially over the next 6 or 7 months, the United States is going to supply to Ukraine 10,000 of these missiles. So just in the last month, the month of July, when Ukraine started using these HIMARS launchers, it has completely devastated the Russian forces. They are incapable of advancing. Here we are on month 2 of Ukraine having and using these launchers, and potentially they're going to fire off another 1,600 missiles, 1,600 potential targets. Now, more than likely, Ukraine is double or triple tapping targets that they want to take out, but these are command posts, fuel depots, ammunition depots, air defense systems, radar installations, infrastructure such as rail lines and bridges. And that's what's coming just this month potentially. Based on my estimate of 10,000 additional missiles being delivered over the next 6 or 7 months, getting 1,600 this month makes sense. So the level of devastation coming for the Russian military just this month, I don't understand why they're not reacting, they're not adapting, they're not potentially trying to find a way out of this conflict, Because what I can tell for now is that Russia just plans on taking it. The Russian military is just going to absorb 1,600 of these GMLRS rockets this month, and Putin doesn't show signs of stopping. Now, the Russian military is putting out really absurd propaganda stating that they've already destroyed all of these HIMARS launchers, or the Ukrainians have sold them to the Russian forces. And to prove it, they posted this bizarre video on a Russian military channel of a cruise missile with a camera launching into the second-story floor of this building. How the heck did a 16-ton truck get on the second floor of this building in Kharkiv? And of course, the room is dark and you can't actually see the launcher. But that's how stupid the Russian military is, that they can put out a video like this, and potentially their supporters believe this is evidence that the HIMARS trucks have been destroyed. Let's move on. The Russians are currently attempting to repair the Anatovsky Bridge in the Kherson Oblast. I think they did try to attempt to build a pontoon bridge, but the current is too fast and the river is too wide. The best they can do at this time is just set up a temporary ferry. But Russia is working on this bridge because they really need to resupply using it. In addition, they've been building ghost bridges with radar reflectors to confuse potential incoming missiles. Now, if Ukraine gets within artillery range with these Excalibur rounds, this isn't going to do anything. I also don't think that these little weird pyramids floating in the water, I don't think this is going to confuse or stop the HIMARS missiles anyways. So even if Russia can successfully repair the bridge where trucks and tanks can get over it, Ukraine is just going to keep bombing it. But in the meantime, you'll see right here, they've set up this ferry that just goes back and forth all day, resupplying the Russian forces in the city of Kherson. So this is the number one priority for the Ukrainian military. They announced this over a month ago, and they're going to take back, potentially this month, the north bank of the Dnieper River. At this point, if they destroy this Anatovka Bridge and the rail line, the only way across this river will be this hydroelectric dam, and it's a war crime to destroy it, so potentially both sides will just agree to not target and not use the dam for the rest of the war. Now, here's an interesting thread I found on Twitter, and the Russians, according to sources, have more than doubled their defense of the city. Prior to the Ukrainian counteroffensive announcement, there was only about 12,000 soldiers on the north bank of the Dnieper River, but because the attack was announced, Russia has been surging troops to this area, more equipment, more soldiers, potentially it's up to 30,000 now. There are pros and cons to this shift in the war. The con is for the Ukrainians, it'll be more difficult and might take longer to liberate the city of Kherson. The Russians are also bringing in equipment, posturing like they plan on attacking. They're posturing like they want to attack and potentially take the city of Mykolaiv and then potentially go around the coastline and go for Odessa. But there are pros for the Ukrainians. The pro is that if Russia wants to bunch together their forces in this region, all of this is in the range, the 70-kilometer range of these GMLRS rockets, and Ukraine just got potentially 1,500, so plenty of good targets for them to take out over this month. The other benefit is that Ukraine is actually making progress on other fronts, mostly around the city of Izium. Additionally, Russia's offensive on the Eastern Front in the Donbas region has completely stalled out. A month ago, they made an excuse that they were going to go into this operational pause. That's why they can't take the Donbas region. But in all actuality, Russian high command seems incapable of focusing on two fronts at the same time. If they're worried about and focusing on Kherson, then the Ukrainian defenders in the Donbas region are actually getting a break. They're getting a breather so that they can also shore up their fortifications, get resupplied, and then potentially plan their next move. So it's really interesting how the war has changed just this month since the HIMARS weapon system was delivered to Ukraine. Next piece of news that's really interesting is that Russian authorities have accused Ukrainians of conducting a drone attack against the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol. This is in Crimea. 6 Russian soldiers were injured in the attack, and this forced Russia to cancel their Russian Navy celebration parade, I guess. In Crimea, they were going to have some kind of parade, even though a war is going on. Here's what some of the damage looks like, and Ukraine isn't saying whether or not they're doing it. And what's interesting is what drone potentially could have flown all the way to Sevastopol from Ukrainian territory. So the theory is that this drone was launched from within Crimea in order to attack this building. So this is another interesting development where Russia is going to have to be more wary about what is going on within their own controlled territory. Next piece of absurd news from Russia is that in the city of Tyumen, local authorities put up this poster to celebrate Russian Navy Day. But if you can spot what is wrong with this poster, this is not a Russian aircraft carrier. This is a picture of the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier. So Russians are so stupid that they just went on Google Images and didn't even bother to use a picture of one of their own ships in their navy to celebrate their navy. I can't even with the Russians. The next piece of alarming propaganda that has been spotted is in central Russia. This poster was put up by local authorities, and it says, "The Call of the Great Motherland, Time to be Reborn," and it features the Soviet flag and the Russian imperial flag with Russia's historical Soviet borders. So they're not putting up a picture of Russia saying maybe we'll take back Crimea and the Donbass region. This map shows Russia retaking everything that was once under Moscow's control. So this includes the Baltics, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. This includes the Caucasus, such as Georgia. This includes the Central Asian republics like Kazakhstan. This war is not about helping the ethnic Russians in the Donbass region. It's about imperialism. It's about Russia extending their borders back to their maximum historical range over all of these peoples. It's undeniable. However, Russia is struggling to find the soldiers to get the job done. Russia has taken extraordinary measures the last 5 months to resupply their ranks as they're taking heavy casualties. They've increased the age in which you can join the military all the way to 65. They're forced conscripting Ukrainian citizens in the Donbass region. They're looking for volunteers in Transnistria, looking for volunteers in Chechnya and Syria. They're also even recruiting prisoners and using private mercenaries to try and get the job done in Ukraine. And the latest report is that the Russian government is now putting pressure on local officials to supply 1 volunteer per village to help supply contract soldiers to go fight in Ukraine. Is this going to work? Probably not. Let's now pivot and talk about good news for Ukraine. And Ukraine successfully brought in $20 million its first month selling electricity to the EU. So Ukraine is making it a priority to integrate with the European Union. And on July 1st, they were able to start selling surplus electricity through an interconnect in Romania. Ukraine is actually in a good situation in that they have 3 nuclear reactors online. Unfortunately, in the first couple weeks of the war, Russia took the nuclear reactor in Zaporozhye, and they pushed hard that first month to try and take a second one, but Ukraine pushed them back and is still operating these 3. In the north here, this is the defunct Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and somehow there's an interconnect going into Romania, and Ukraine can earn money selling electricity to the EU. Next piece of good news is that humanitarian aid in the amount of 27 tons has arrived in Kyiv from South Korea. This is according to a military chaplain. I actually lived in South Korea for 6 years. They have delicious and very nice packaged goods, so that's amazing that they were able to donate 27 tons worth of humanitarian aid to the Ukrainians. Next piece of bad news for Russia is that Northern Macedonia has sent an unspecified amount of T-72 tanks to Ukraine. Prior to their delivery, it's reported that they had 31 of these tanks, and these tanks were actually given to Northern Macedonia by Russia back in the year 2000, and now Northern Macedonia is giving these tanks to Ukraine to use against the Russians. So thank you so much, Northern Macedonia. Let's now share some fun pictures and arts. I saw this on Twitter and thought it was pretty interesting. This is basically a HIMARS monster, and hopefully he's taking out Russian soldiers. But the art kind of reminds me of the anime style of Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's up to you what you think of it. Here's a picture of Ukrainian soldiers patrolling the streets of Kyiv, and if you can't understand the musical reference, they're doing their best Beatles' Abbey Road impression in the streets of Kyiv. Once again, that's a pretty good picture. I like it a lot. I am not a demining expert. This is probably not the best way to get rid of a road mine left by the Russians, but I'll let you be the judge. Let's watch this together. Yeah, that's probably not the correct way to do it. Final story I want to share with you is that I saw this article about the return of a Ukrainian festival in Canada, and I found pictures and I found articles, but I unfortunately was not able to find any videos on YouTube of the festival, and it was held last weekend. This is Canada's National Ukraine Festival, and there are various dance and performance groups from across Canada and potentially the world that came to this festival to perform. But I went on YouTube and I can't really find any decent videos of the performers. The only thing I could find was this YouTube channel of an individual who was practicing the accordion for Canada's National Ukraine Festival. Let me just show you a couple seconds of this guy. I mean, you be the judge, but I think he's outstanding. He also does sing. His name is Brandon, and he sells CDs if you're interested. I don't want to play too much because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube potentially if these videos are copyrighted. But here is a video posted August 1st. This is from the National Ukrainian Festival. Once again, I can't find any of the dance performers, but I can find this guy, Brandon, playing the accordion. He's really good, guys. I am thoroughly impressed. So I checked out his YouTube channel, and if you want to do something fun with me, I noticed that he has 503 subscribers. So I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to his channel, and if you want to have some fun, let's see if we can get him to 1,000 subscribers. That is the threshold on YouTube in order to get your channel monetized. If you want to watch a couple of his videos and leave him some nice comments, I'm sure he would greatly appreciate that. If you're not interested in accordion music, or potentially he's already above 1,000 subscribers, you don't have to bother. But I think he would thoroughly enjoy, once again, people helping him get over that threshold to get monetized on YouTube. Alright, that's all for this update video. Glory to the heroes, glory to Ukraine. If you found it informative, give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Any comments or questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, Take care. Be safe.